One of the tricky things with doing a live edge table with, it's not huge curvature, but it's got curvature on both sides. One of the tricky things is getting a straight line across that I'm cutting off to do straight ends. The way I'm thinking of doing it, got framing square here. I'm lining up on where the glue line was on this. I'm going to mark a straight line based off of my glue line. That's the best reference point I can think of as far as to get square cut off ends so that the table, when it's done, isn't skewed one way or the other. I guess you probably wouldn't notice it too much, but I don't want it skewed. I'm going to be cutting the final dimensions on this is going to go to 10 feet, right at 10 feet. So we're going to, the customer wanted to keep this, which I agree. This is a really cool feature, matched on both ends. So we're going to, this is old saw blade marks. When I milled up the log initially, I cut into it and I forget what happened, but I had to back the saw back out. So we're going to cut this right around here and then measure down to 10 feet here, which does help because I had a little bit of snipe in this, and it's worse on the underside, but I got some checks and cracks running down this. So I'm going to cut this off, and I think that'll eliminate all or most of the checks. I think that'll actually help quite a bit on this project, because otherwise I think I'm going to have to put a bow tie or two up underneath. I think it's on this one. I believe it's this one here underneath is more pronounced, and if it is opened up underneath like that, I'm going to put some bow ties in on the bottom. I don't think I'd have to do any on top, just on the bottom. But just wanted to show this is one of the steps here. Okay, so I took one of the legs sitting down there. The other one, this is all flipped upside down right now. You can see I've already started to lay out some of the epoxy tape on the bottom. I'm going to do that here, and here in one of the next steps is pour that clear epoxy. I'm going to make a base that covers all of this though, and probably caulk around that base and hope that I don't get any leak out of these spots right here. These other spots here are relatively small. I think I'll be okay. But these spots here, I've got to seal them up. Now, I don't like how this table leg is going over this opening. This is going to be clear, but it's going to be at the bottom. I don't know how well that'll show just because of the angle on it. But really, if you see anywhere I put this, unless if I put this table leg clear at the very, very end, I really can't avoid this spot. It's kind of it's in that line no matter what I do. And I don't want to take it too much more forward. If I take it too much more forward, I'm afraid it won't have enough. I want this table leg to be as wide as possible for as much stability. So I don't really want to take it out past that. I'm just afraid it'll be too narrow for the base. But we'll see. I don't think it's going to show a whole lot once it's flipped upside down. I don't think it's going to be all that noticeable, or at least I hope. Here's what I've done. This is how once I get my table legs squared, and I put some markings down there, so I got everything square. The way I transfer it, I find one of my Brad Point bits here. Well, it's a Forstner bit. Sorry. Put that in here. It fits pretty snug. And then, let me get this. And then I just make sure there's room on either side of it, so that when I put the wooded insert in, I got a little bit of room for air, but it also allows a little bit of room for the for expansion and contraction. So I try not to put my hole alignment right up against one of the edges, one or the other, because I want to give room for that expansion and for some air as far as setting it. This side over here, I've already got the wooded inserts in. I got them all flush. They're in there pretty well. So you can see I've got a line here. I took a line. I'm coming in 14 inches. I feel like that's plenty to give somebody sitting in a chair room with their legs. No, they can't necessarily kick their legs out per se, but it gives them ample room. And then that creates enough space end to end for a stable base. So I've already transferred my holes. I've already put in the threaded inserts. This is a kit. This is a 1/4 inch. Let's see how well it picks up. 1/4 inch by 20 thread. 1/4 by 20. Threaded inserts. Just off of Amazon. Okay. I think it's gonna work pretty well. The part that makes me nervous, and for those of you who have done this, let me know if you're the same, is when I'm drilling my depth. Got it right here. I always put my tape on to mark my depth because you can see you don't want to go any further than that. I had to give it room I wanted to give some clearance on all of this. I did not punch through the table. I go very, very slow when going towards that. I would hate to punch through the table, although if I did, I could patch it and probably make it look pretty seamless, but it's just another thing I don't want to have to go through. So, got my threaded inserts in. Now it's time to put that table base, the leg, back up here. So this is the underside that had more of the curvature with the holes, the big holes under here. So I've done some epoxy projects before, and I've also lost a decent bit of epoxy on the floor before. So this time, because this is a full hole going all the way through, I put the epoxy tape on the underside of this, laid it down flat, and then I just took some caulk and caulked around it. I'm hoping that holds all of the liquid epoxy in there while it cures. We'll find out. The other ones, these areas over here on the underside, were all very small, if anything. Maybe the finest little crack. So I'm just trying the tape itself on this without anything added to it, any pressure. This one here, I did it the other day, and it's got some bubbles in it. I may have to redo that section right there. The others are pretty flat and seem good. If you're asking what the blue tape is for, the blue tape is when I put the legs down so that I know which leg base goes to what side, just in case there's any variance in the holes. I've got a blue piece of tape here and here that matches on the corresponding leg. And then, just for reference, the ones down here, I do a different pattern, just so I can keep the two, just so I know which one goes where. Like I said, just in case the holes don't exactly match up. Keeps me from having to guess through it all, make sure it's all okay. But here's the epoxy, kind of a jig for it, I guess you will. And we'll see how it works. I'll give it just a little bit and we'll see how it works. So while this here is drying, I need that caulk to dry a little bit before I try and put the epoxy through, just in case it starts to leak out, and that caulk has to keep it from leaking. I'm looking at how long do I want the bottom central beam. The outside of the legs is right here at this line, and it's a pass through. Let's look at it over here. Okay, so you can see it passes through. Okay, opens all the way. All right, and then has a hole under here. But so what I want, and once again, this line is the outside. It will sit right here. outside. I'm thinking maybe like 3/4 or so protrudes on the back side. And then it'll have the screw up from underneath. My thinking is this is right at 8 foot. Sorry, it's not the best tape. It's right at about 8 foot. I'd say I cut it at 8 foot, make sure it's okay, and then I can fine tune it from there. I can cut it down to, you know, if I want an inch, a half inch, 3/4, whatever I want exposed. I don't want anything too far, because if you're sitting here eating and then you're sitting at the chair, I don't want this 3x4 beam like hitting you in the shin. And I think that's what would happen. I think you'd end up busting your shin up with it. So I'm going to make it shorter. It'll pass through, and then I'm going to knock the edges off, just to keep it from hopefully busting up somebody's shin when they're sitting down to eat. Okay, so I just poured the epoxy. You see that's the hole there. You can see the bottom form holding it. Got these filled. This one was taking a lot in, that crack. I'm sure that crack kind of goes throughout the wood in there, but nothing's dripping on the floor. Same thing here. I might fill just a little bit more up there. This one was taking extra as well. I got a little bit too much on there now. So they're looking okay. I'm going to have to heat them. I am using, I don't know how they pronounce it, epoxidex or epidex. I'm not sure. Somebody can correct me. The A and B. It's 2 parts A, 1 part B. And then because this one is clear, I'm not having to add any tint to it. I do have to get the bubbles out, so I'm going to heat that up. Heat these up and just see how they look. But so far, what I had sealed on the bottom, so far I'm not seeing any leaks out the bottom on the floor. And for any of you who have done this before, that's a quick way to know that you've got a leak. This stuff basically has the viscosity of water when you first mix it together. And if you've got cracks or leaks, it will end up on the floor. That's an expensive loss on the floor. But right now it looks okay. I think we're all right.